What's up, everybody? Jammin Jon here with Thralls of Metal, bringing you my end-of-year list. This was a crazy year for metal, much like I thought it would be. Of course, you've got everybody still, in my opinion, reeling in off of the pandemic with all the things they'd written during shutdown time, and what an incredible year. And it seems to be yet another incredible year for death metal. A very, very death metal-centric 2023. It was just insane. I did a top 40 much like Nick did, although I don't have a top 10 EPs. I rather just mixed in my EPs with my top 40. Looking back on it in retrospect, probably not something I should have done because there are so many killer releases and it was near impossible. In fact, it was impossible to fit everything in. So I'm just going to get to it. Of course, a couple of honorable mentions as I couldn't fit everything on my list. I know Nick already went over Cavalera Conspiracy. Of course, that's up there for me too. I thought it was incredible. Again, just a way that I think those albums should have been heard now that they have the musical experience and the money to, get a proper studio and just all that. Great albums. Another one for me would have been Phobocosm's new record, Foreordained. If you want really more information on that, check out the review we just did. A killer fucking album. I'm not going to waste any time by going through it again. My other honorable mention would be the second album released in the 2-disc release of the Acacia Strain, Failure Will Follow. Bogwalker, the stoner fucking doom song that's on there, probably one of the coolest songs they've ever written. And then Basin of Vows, that long, 15, 16 minute epic doom death metal thing. Just, if that's the direction the Acacia Strain is going to go into, I'm all about it. All about it. All right. Honorable mentions out of the way. Let's get down to business. Number 40 for me would be a band called Effect with their album Theory of Mind. This was a very late entry for me. Neither Nick nor myself have the physical media, but you'll find it either right there or up there or somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, a very late entry for me. I don't even remember how I found it. From the UK, it's their first release. I'm not sure when they formed, but it came out in June of 2023. They are completely unsigned. I believe the only unsigned band here on my list. Think Meshuggah and Nightmarer, but with Steve Tucker on vocals. Now, it's not actually Steve Tucker on vocals, but the guy sounds a lot like Steve Tucker. Full of angular, down-tuned, chuggy, nasty riffs and dissonance. If you know me, it's like this record was made for me specifically. It is so heavy, it's almost violently heavy. It is a giant wall of gnar. I started to write down song titles, but really, I think you should check it all out for yourself. From the very beginning with the song Patronage, it just immediately is awesome. I would definitely recommend checking it out. Number 39, Birdflesh with Sickness in the North. Everlasting Spews, grindcore giants. It's always so tough to review grindcore albums because they're so quick. These guys, again, are excellent musicians. If you've never heard Birdflesh, it is awesome, balls-to-the-wall grind. But the cool thing about Birdflesh for me would be the humor laced within it. These guys don't take this genre seriously at all, yet at the same time, they slay it as far as musicianship is concerned. Back earlier this year, Nick and I got a chance to sit down with their lead vocalist, Ellis, who is not only an incredible dude, but the brains behind a lot of these songs. And not only did we interview him, but we got a chance to go through track by track on this record as far as insight and vocal content and what it all means. Just a couple songs for me: Laboratory Sickness, Chained to the Walk, I Will Never Rot, Amputee Admiration. The song Pedophile Pal is pretty fucked up. But again, I really dug this album. If you guys have never heard of Birdflesh, it is awesome grindcore, but with a real sense of humor. So I'd recommend checking it out. It's number 39 for me. Next in line at number 38, Obituary with Dying of Everything. They're not reinventing the wheel. This is just Obituary doing what they do best, showing the world that they've still got it. I don't know how many albums exactly this is in now. I didn't take notes that far, but I know they've been at it for a while. I know there are many records in the catalog. Anyway, this is Obituary doing what they do best. This record is awesome, again, full of chunky riffs and John Tardy's amazingly sick vocals. All I gotta say is the song Be Warned. The last track on this album is fucking killer. I could listen to it over and over and over again. But then again, I'm sure after that point I would end up with a far more threatening demeanor than I usually have. I don't know if that's what you want, but yeah, these guys did a great job once again. How can they not? It's Obituary. Just an amazing listen, and I would recommend checking that out. Coming in at number 37, Hyperdontia with Deranged. Albeit it's a 4-song EP, it is straight 17 minutes of nasty grooves, breakdowns, furious drumming, and straight suffocation worship. Chuggy, good leads, all around nasty, and just heavy as all get out. The song Deluded, Nauseous Hallucinations, those are probably 2 takeaways for me, but again, it's only 4 songs. If you guys aren't hip to Hyperdontia and you want something disgustingly heavy, definitely in the vein of Suffocation, I recommend checking this out. Coming in at number 36, Undergang, or Undergang, however you want to pronounce it, and their new album, which I am not going to attempt to say the title of, and Nick told me what it means, but I forgot, as it's all in Finnish. If you've watched our review and we attempted to say all these things, it didn't work out, and I'm sure if I try to read it again, it's not going to work out. I mean, I believe in me. I know you believe in me, but I'm not going to say this shit. Anyway, gross-sounding old-school death metal, packed full of chugs, breakdowns, slams, in the vein of bands like Fetid, Cerebral Rot, Mortiferum. I remember when we reviewed this, I loved it to death, and I continued to listen to it throughout the year, and it really grew on me as just a heavy, nasty, old-school death metal album. If you guys aren't hip to Undergang, you're missing out. Check out this record. Again, I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but you'll see it somewhere up there. I'm not going to pronounce it, but it's there. Coming in at number 35, Crypta with Shades of Sorrow. It was really, really hard to pick between Crypta and Nervosa, as they both came out with albums, as they both have former members of each other, rightfully so. I just thought that Crypta packed a little bit more of a punch as far as death metal was concerned. Fernanda really stepped up her vocal game, a bunch more growls and screams and blood-curdlingness, and although she reminds me a lot of Randy Blythe at times, it's still a good performance. For me, something cool on here was Luana D'Amato, who definitely stepped up her drumming game. Just crazy, flawless drum work between blast beats and double kick flourishes and her snare work, and just everything sounded really dialed in. As far as the whole band is concerned, I think they matured a lot as musicians. They just wrote some killer bangers. The Outsider with the evil sounding harmonies, The Other Side of Anger, Trial of Traitors with Big Nasty Chug. I just thought that this record was really awesome. We got to catch kind of the end of their set when we saw them in Fort Wayne. We got there a little late, but anyway, Crypta is doing wonderful things. I definitely recommend checking this out. Coming in at number 34, Profanatica with Crux Simplex, or Crux Simplex, or I don't know. Neither Nick or myself have a physical copy of this record, shame on the both of us, but we saw these guys earlier this year at Heavy Hell. They absolutely destroyed. This record is just so evil sounding and as black as Satan's butthole. Gnarly, snarling guitars and bass, nearly puked, snarled growls, almost theatrical as far as the vocals are concerned. I thought it to be more in the vein of like old school death metal than blackened death metal, although I can hear from like the tremolos and such in there where you still might be able to make that correlation between the two. I don't know. I found there to be a lot more death metal grooves, super riffy. Take Up the Cross with an almost doom breakdown, Meaning of a Whore, the breakdown in that song, Wipe the Fucking Face of Jesus. the fucking gnarliest of tremolo grooves. Of course, again, Profanatica, evil is all get out. I would recommend checking out the record. I'm sorry we don't have a physical copy of it. I would definitely recommend seeing them live. That was a real treat. But anyway, that is my number 34. Coming in at number 33, Go Ahead and Die with Unhealthy Mechanisms. I like the mix of this a little bit better than the record before. It's just kind of got more of like a crust to it. Max sounds absolutely feral between his growls, his screams, his yelling. Max's death growl, on point. Props to you. It's got a lot more attention to death metal and thrash grooves, killer riffs, very high energy, chugging tremolos. It's just a fun record. It is a headbanger and a good progression for the band as well. The song Split Scalp with the breakdown. Druggo Cop. Watch the video for that. Watch, not our video of the review, but watch the music video for that. Just do it if you haven't seen it. If you're a fan of this band, chances are you've seen it. But yeah, that's a good one. MDA, Most Dangerous Animal, nasty grooves in that song. And again, just another great progression for this band. For those of you unfamiliar with Go Ahead and Die, it's Max Cavalera on vocals and guitar, and his son Igor Amadeus on bass. It is just a wonderful record. I'd recommend checking it out. It's number 33 for me. I listened to this record quite a bit after we reviewed it. It's a great time. Check it out. Coming in at number 32, another record we don't have because there's no physical media for it. The Night Hag and Burial Split, Utterances from Below. When we reviewed this record, I thought it was absolutely disgusting. A foul death doom offering from both bands. Night Hag being the more doom in my opinion, and then Burial being more death metal with death doom elements. Both steeped in filth and grime, gross atmosphere, chugs, blasts, dissonant melodies and harmonies, all the wonderful things that I like about death doom and death metal to begin with. In this Night Hag and Burial Split, check it out. Number 31, how could I not? Suffocation with Hymns from the Apocrypha. I'm a giant Suffocation fan. We both are. You both see Nick and I all the time with Suffocation merch on. One of my favorite death metal bands of all time. The only reason it's lower on my list is because it was released later in the year and I didn't get the same amount of time with it that I got with other things. So I adore this band. They're not reinventing the wheel either, although this is the first actual recorded appearance of Ricky Myers. If you guys have seen Suffocation at all in the last, since the Farewell to Frank tour, you've seen Ricky up there doing vocals anyway. I thought he did a great job between his emulation of Frank's antics and characteristics, as well as bringing his own taste and flavor to the vocals. The riffs on here are gross. It's still just as heavy as ever. Songs like Perpetual Deception, Dim Veil of Obscurity, Delusions of Mortality are the ones that I go to. I know I just recently showed my girlfriend this record who hadn't heard it yet, and I played those songs, and she was like, this is pretty gross. And I'm like, well, yeah, no shit, it's Suffocation. Got a chance to meet Terrence Hobbs recently. That was pretty cool. Just saw these guys on tour with Incantation and Skeletal Remains. It was an amazing tour. If you didn't get a chance to go see it, you missed out. Although we didn't get Ricky Myers on our show, we actually got Bridget from Stabbing, who did an excellent job for Suffocation. She even did the hand chop thing. It was heartwarming. I loved it. Anyway, this record is pretty fucking cool. If you're a Suffocation fan and you haven't heard this yet, you are missing out. Number 31 for me. That's all I got. Coming in at number 30, Werewolves, with the album My Enemies Look and Sound Like Me. This is just speedy, groovy, gnarly sounding death metal. These guys never really let up off the gas. Tons of chugs, syncopated grooves, growls, screams, insane drumming, blast beats, tremolos, melodies. Very much to me in the vein of Nile, Hoth, The Evangelic, of course, a bit of Ashen. The album flows really well. They never let up off the gas. Bring Me to the Kill has a thrashy breakdown in it. Destroyer of Worlds with the doomy Slayer melodies, also more mid-tempo. I Knew Nothing Then and I Know Even Less Now. I love that song title. I get it. I knew nothing then and I know even less now. Anyway, crawling riffs and the breakdowns in that song are awesome. This is a great release from these guys. I had never really fully heard Werewolves until this year. A definite must-have listen for me when I'm in the mood to just be speedy and destroy things. And I'm not a destructive person, but listening to this album, I might be. Number 30 for me, we're 10 deep. Check out this record. Coming in at number 29, Spirit Adrift with Ghost at the Gallows. Nate Garrett continues to blaze the path with classic heavy metal, thrash, and doom. The guitar work on this album is absolutely insane. I said it when we reviewed the album. As I continued to listen to it, I still mean it. Between the constant riffing, the constant melodies, the crazy back and forth harmonies, this record just doesn't let up. For me, it was really cool because it was finally like a breath of fresh air from all the pummeling death metal. I would place this in just like classic heavy metal or thrash in the vein of Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and then you get a little bit of COC flourish to it, maybe some Down, maybe a little bit of that New Orleans kind of feel of metal, but this whole record just jams, and it's a non-stop assault on the greatest melodic riffing, I think, out there right now. The opening track, Give Her to the River, is just a strong pace setter for the album. Pretty much everything that's in that song encompasses what will be in the rest of the record. Hanged Man's Revenge, from the chuggy breakdown to the banger leads, is another great song. Siren of the South actually reminded me a lot of like early COC, like Deliverance era, like Albatross, that kind of vibe. And then Ghost at the Gallows had a Candlemass vibe to it. Like, this record is just awesome. The riffs are awesome. The melodies and harmonies, the earworms, like, and such beautiful lead work. Like, if I could play guitar, I would try to emulate Nate Garrett's performance. Like, it's just that damn good. So number 29, Spirit Adrift, Ghost at the Gallows, check it out. Number 28, Cannibal Corpse, Chaos Horrific. I don't even need to say anything, except this may be lower on my list. I don't know. There were so many great releases this year, it was just hard to remember to jam everything all the time. Maybe that's no excuse, but number 28, Cannibal Corpse, Chaos Horrific, another dialed-in banger. Cannibal Corpse doesn't have a bad record. There may be albums that I like less than certain records, but Cannibal Corpse doesn't have a bad record. Again, you can hear more of the continuation of Eric Rutan's influence on the band. The guitars just sound a little bit grosser. Not that they didn't sound gross to begin with, but you can tell when Eric Rutan plays a riff. The drums I thought sounded a little thin, but I have that gripe with multiple records, so I'm willing to let it go. Bloodblind, enough said. That song is fucking killer. Pitchfork Impalement, that song's fucking killer. This whole album is awesome. If you're a Cannibal Corpse fan, I guarantee you're still going to be a Cannibal Corpse fan because this record is awesome, just like I thought it would be. So, number 28 for me, Cannibal Corpse, Chaos Horrific, check it out. Coming in at number 27, Catatonia, Sky Void of Stars. I will admit this record fell a little bit for me as time went on. Again, I think I just got more intertwined with the heavier releases that came out this year. Nonetheless, I love Catatonia. I've been a giant fan of these guys since, the Great Cold Distance, so quite some time. They just keep releasing killer album after killer album after killer album after killer album. While still the big sad, in their own gothic sort of like doomy vibe, they always find a way to make it so pretty. Like, as sad and as cold and as dark as it is, there's something just relaxing and wonderful, almost like a feel-good record as far as Catatonia albums are concerned, which again is contradictory in nature because it's so, sad, but it's so pretty at the same time. Songs like Drab Moon had Night is the New Day vibes. If you're not familiar with that Catatonia album, go listen to that 100%. And then Author, the lead work. I can't think of in really any time ever where Catatonia had such great leads, or really any leads for that matter. They've been mostly about things like atmosphere or big melodic choruses and things of that nature, but it had lead work on it, and that was pretty good. Even though this record fell for me, I'm still a gigantic Catatonia fan. I still agree with my rating for this album. I would recommend checking this out if you're a fan of Catatonia, Opeth, during their we'll say like Damnation era, Paradise Lost, things like that. You're gonna like Catatonia. You're gonna like this record. I fucking loved it. It's my number 27. Check it out. Coming down to the end of at least 40 through 26 of really killer albums. Last but not least, at least for this video, Gorod at number 26 with The Orb. How can you not enjoy this record? Gorod continued to dominate tech death insanity. And one of the things I've always liked about Gorod is, while it's technical, it's not noodly. And as if these guys couldn't get tighter and more focused, they definitely did it with The Orb. We saw these guys live, I think, back in March. As far as I know, it was the first actual show that I had pictures for, at least, that we went to this year. But yeah, Gorod slay. In a land without necrophagist, Gorod yet again say, hold my beer. From the very rip, the opening song, Chromatheism, I think that's how you say it, it just comes out swinging with all the precision, a complete, almost amalgamation of what's to come for the rest of the record. We Are the Sun Gods, that bass jam and the drum solo, fucking amazing. Breeding Silence has a really, really catchy batch of riffs and melodies, earworms that get stuck in my head. Waltz of Shades has an insane groove, and it's almost waltzy death metal. It's like they planned it or something with that song title. Anyway, I've been a giant fan of Gorod for a very long time, and this record is certainly a wonderful addition to their catalog. If you guys aren't hip to Gorod, but you like tech death, check out this album, check out the rest of their catalog, but most of all, check out this album. Number 26 for me, Gorod with The Orb. And that brings us to the end, at least of this video, of my top 40. You got numbers 40 through 26. There were some real bangers in there. Again, this year is just amazing as far as death metal and metal releases are concerned. This has just been a great year for metal. I'm really excited to bring you the rest of my list, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and close this video. If you guys like what you saw, please hit the like button, the subscribe button, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below there to thrallsofmetal.com. Within that link is also our Patreon link. We have shirts. We have new shirts. We have old shirts at a discounted price. I think we even have some of the first shirts we ever did left, obviously at a discounted price. We have hats. But again, if you'd like to help us out there, that's where to go. As far as Thralls of Metal is concerned, you know that we do stuff constantly, nonstop. We've got the continuation of my end of year list. We've got Rin's end of year list. We might have Miller, we might have Shredlord, I'm not 100%, but we do have mine and Rin's coming. We have the Black Dahlia Murder ranking coming up soon here. Retro reviews are going to come back for a little while. What's John Jammin' is going to come back in 2024. Always have really cool stuff going. We couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you so much to all of our subscribers. I'm not going to blab anymore because I got other videos to do. And with that, I, in this case, will catch you later.